Hello and welcome to today's episode that deals with the growth of internet in India. I am Sunil Saxena. I have been an author and journalist with over 3 decades of experience in print, new media, social media, media education, and media research. In this episode, we will cover the history of the internet in India and chart the way it has evolved. We will try and understand the dynamics of the dot-com boom and its collapse thereafter. We will look at the emergence of e-papers, how the internet took away advertising revenue from newspapers, the introduction of broadband, the starting of television sites, the arrival of social media, and the importance of technology and design. But before that, let us look at the rapid speed at which internet spread across the world. It took 38 years for the radio to reach 1 million people. Television took 15 years to reach the same number. And the internet? Just 4 years. Very few of us know the role of education and research network, also known as EARNet, in bringing the internet to India. The project began in 1986 under the auspices of the Department of Electronics. It was funded by the Government of India and the United Nations Development Programme. The project involved 8 participating institutions. These were National Centre for Software Technology in Mumbai, Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, the 5 Indian Institutes of Technology located at Delhi, Mumbai, Kanpur, Kharagpur, and Chennai, the Department of Electronics in New Delhi. 2 other agencies that gave internet a big push in India in the early 90s were the National Informatics Centre, popularly known as NICNET, and the Software Technology Parks of India, which is also known as STPI. Each had a separate charter, but each in its own way helped internet to grow in India. While the National Informatics Centre played a major role in connecting ministries and state governments, the Software Technology Parks of India emerged as an important data carrier and helped the software industry, especially the small and medium enterprises, to connect with the rest of the world. Now that's a milestone. It was on August 15, 1995 that the people of India got their first public internet service. This service, which was named as a Gateway Internet Access Service, was provided by Videsh Sanchar Nigam Limited, a Government of India undertaking. The 4 cities where the service was first made available were Delhi, Kolkata, Chennai, and Mumbai. Later, points of presence were set up in Bangalore and Pune. People of these cities could access the internet through dial-up accounts. I'm sure all of you know what dial-up accounts are. They were very slow, and it took subscribers considerable time to log on to the net. Often, the connections would break down, but this did not deter Indians from logging on to the net. The first media sites came up in India in 1996. They were set up by The Hindu, The Times of India, and The Indian Express. Language newspapers too followed suit, and Dinamani, a Tamil newspaper, was among the first to set up its website in early 1997. These were elementary websites and carried only a small number of news reports published in the newspaper. These reports were published once a day after the newspaper had been put to bed. But even these limited offerings drew a good response. A large number of Indians living abroad logged onto the sites to learn what was happening back home. The traffic came largely from Indians living in the US, Canada, Singapore, Hong Kong, Australia, and parts of Europe. There was little traffic that arose from within India. And the reason? It was because very few Indians had internet connections. Also, there was not enough bandwidth available within India. The general view was that internet journalism held potential, but it was too early to bet on it. Newspapers therefore limited their involvement to setting up low-tech websites. Their decision in a way was made easier by the fact that it cost virtually nothing to set up a website. Journalists too were wary to move to the net. They preferred to adopt a wait and watch attitude. However, there was considerable activity outside the traditional media. An important site that came up at this time was Rediff.com. The website that was set up in 1996 became a trendsetter for internet development for the next several years. The country also got its first internet cafe in 1996. It was set up in Mumbai. Another first was the launch of India's first online banking site, and the credit for this goes to ICICI Bank. It set up its online site in 1997. The same year also saw the launch of Naukri.com, which became India's leading job site. 1997 will also be known for one more event. This was a sale of the popular email application Hotmail, which was developed by Sabir Bhatia. It was sold to Microsoft for $400 million. The year 1998 can be called a watershed year in the evolution of Internet in India. In October 1998, the government ended the monopoly of Videsh Sanchar Nigam Limited by opening the Internet to the private sector. And what happened? It led to a burst of interest in Internet. Several companies applied for licenses and began building the Internet infrastructure. You had what is known as the famous dot-com boom. The next 3 years, 1999, 2000, and the early part of 2001, were full of hype, hoopla, and excitement. Several things happened simultaneously to create the upbeat mood. Let us look at 3 important developments. 1. The purchase of India World, an online portal by Sifi Technologies for US dollars 115 million, which is equivalent to rupees 499 crores. The purchase created a big buzz in the marketplace and everyone wanted to own a website. 2. Investment bankers added to the excitement by giving astronomical valuations for web properties. 3. Venture capitalists fueled the dot-com boom by offering funds to online startups. Scores and scores of dot-coms mushroomed in metro towns, especially Mumbai, Bangalore, Hyderabad, Chennai, and Delhi. These included sites like Bazi.com, India.com, IndiaInfoline.com, IndiaInfo.com, Hangama.com, and MyIris.com. The interest in dot-coms grew even more when Yahoo and MSN, 2 internet giants, set up Indian web portals. An important feature of the launch was the use of the .in extension. Unlike the Indian startups that preferred the .com extension, these 2 American portals preferred the Indian .in extension. The biggest beneficiaries of this dot-com boom were the newspapers. They were flooded with advertisements released by dot-coms. Dot-com hoardings mushroomed across India, and a kind of dot-com frenzy gripped the country. The mood changed in newsrooms also. Traditional media started looking at the internet with far more seriousness than it had done so far. 3 major media houses, the Times of India, the Hindustan Times, and the New Indian Express, went ahead and set up independent internet companies to lead their foray into the digital media space. A new dimension was given to the role of dot-coms by Tehelka.com, a media site that shook the NDA government with its defense sting. There was heady development in the language space too. It was led by WebDunia that launched news and email in multiple Indian languages. There was also a breakthrough in the use of fonts. In the initial years of the net, several language newspapers converted text into images and posted them on the net. This was not a good solution because the images used to take a long time to download. The process also limited the number of reports that could be uploaded. But the language newspapers had little option. The popular net browsers of that time, like Netscape, Mozilla, and Internet Explorer, could not read Indian fonts. The result was that instead of news reports that could be read, the user was confronted with junk characters. A few language newspapers like Kannada Prabha and Andhra Prabha solved this problem by storing fonts on the net. The user could read language content once this font was downloaded and stored it in the computer. The problem was also resolved by the development of internet-enabled fonts by CDAC and the arrival of on-the-fly fonts. These fonts downloaded on their own and the user could read the content without any struggle. It was a major concern in Indian newsrooms. Every media house was providing news free. The question that was asked frequently was, should the media charge for news? In 2001, the newspapertoday.com, a news website set up by the India Today group, slapped a subscription fee. There was great interest in the development, and every media house waited to see the result. The move bombed and the site shut down. Malayalam Varika was another publication that charged a subscription fee. It continued bravely for several years, but finally decided to make the site free. The first phase of the net saw the launch of PDF papers. The technology involved converting print-ready pages into the PDF format and uploading them on the net. The PDF papers were not very popular because they took a long time to download. Also, they did not make easy reading. There was therefore great excitement when the Times of India launched the country's first e-paper. These papers too were the exact replica of the day's newspaper, but their big advantage was that they could be read easily. The user could read individual stories, search stories, or save multiple stories in a folder. He could also search advertisements by name or by date. Another big advantage of the e-papers was their weight. They did not take much time to download. Given these advantages, the newspapers tried charging for the e-paper. But once again, they were not successful. The Hindu is among the few newspapers that charges a subscription fee for the e-paper. Things started changing by the middle of 2001. The VC funding, that is, funding provided by venture capitalists, dried up, leaving dot-coms to fend for themselves. Their misery was compounded by the recession that hit India. There was all-round gloom and several high-profile dot-coms closed shop. A reverse process started. Journalists who had left newspapers for dot-coms now wanted to come back. This was not easy since the media houses too were feeling the impact of recession. There was a shrinking of investment for almost 2 years. Some newspapers even retrenched a section of their online staff, while others put their expansion plans on hold. The recession lasted for almost 2 years, and during this period, no one was willing to touch dot-coms. However, by 2004, the mood began changing once again. There were several important developments that occurred at this time, many of which changed the way internet came to be perceived in India. The first was the launch of the online ticketing site by Air Deccan, India's first economy airline. The site was launched in 2003, and it soon pushed other airlines to launch similar online ticketing sites. Soon, a whole new genre of travel sites sprung up, giving internet a huge push. The year 2004 also saw two big ticket sales. The first was the sale of Baazi.com, India's self-grown auction portal, to eBay, the world's largest auction site. And the second was the sale of Indian job site JobsAhead.com to Monster.com, the world's largest job portal. The two deals, like the Samachar sale in the late 90s, created a fresh interest in internet. An important technical development that happened at this time was the launch of broadband. In 2004, Bharat Sanchar Nigam Limited, a public sector company, started selling broadband connections to home users. With this, Indians could surf the net at the rate of 256 kbps, which was 4 times the speed of dial-up connections. The broadband connections got a further push when private players like Airtel, Reliance, and Sifi Technologies launched home broadband plans. A large number of Indians upgraded their internet connections, and India recorded its first million broadband connections in 2005. The number of broadband connections at the start of 2011 had climbed to 11.2 million. Broadband speeds too have jumped, and home users can now buy internet connections that provide an incredible 8 Mbps speed. Broadband was not the only initiative that happened at this point of time. The government took 2 other decisions that had an important bearing on the management and evolution of the internet in India. The first major decision was the setting up of National Internet Exchange of India, which is popularly known as NIXI. This was set up in 2003. It was set up to smoothen the flow of domestic internet traffic. The second major decision was the setting up of IN Registry. It was set up in 2004 to manage Indian domain names, especially the Indian domain name extension .in. Till then, the Indian domain names were being registered and maintained by the National Centre for Software Technology through Centre for Development of Advanced Computing, which is also known as CDAC. Besides .in names, the IN registry also manages the allotment of .co.in, .net.in, .org.in, firm.in, gen.in, and .int.in. These are all top-level domain names. The gov.in names are managed by the National Informatics Centre. The res.in, that is Research Institute's names, and ac.in, that is academic names, are managed by ERNET, and the mil.in, that is military domains, are governed by the Ministry of Defence. The sites to benefit most from the improved internet speeds were the television sites. They could now upload video files on the net. NDTV, a leading television channel, launched NDTV Convergence. IBNLive.com, the website of CNN IBN, also started streaming video. Video content became an important part of the offerings of horizontal portals like IndiaTimes.com, Rediff.com, and msnindia.in. Around 2005, the social media sites started catching the fancy of Indians. Wikimedia and YouTube.com were the first sites to become household names in India. But it was Orkut.com that gave wings to social networking in India. Millions of youngsters set up Orkut accounts. For almost 5 years, Orkut continued to be the number one social media site in the country. It was only in 2010 that Facebook dethroned Orkut as a number one social site. Two other social networking sites that have built a large fan base in India are Twitter and LinkedIn. For many Indians, the social media sites have become the number one internet destination. The success of American social media sites led to a wave of Indian companies setting up what are known as Me Too sites. The belief was that Indians will move out of social media sites like Facebook and Orkut and set up Indian accounts. This did not happen on the anticipated scale. But still, millions of Indians have opened accounts on desi social media sites like minglebox.com, fropper.com, bharatstudent.com, ibibo.com, and bigadda.com. Blogging is another activity that took off during this period. The credit for this goes mainly to WordPress and Blogger, two blogging applications that provide free blogging tools. These are not the only blogging applications that are being used by Indians, though they are the most popular. There are several Indian organizations that provide free blogging facilities. These include Rediff.com, Sify.com, Silekha, and IndiaTimes.com. Initially, all blogging was in English, but in 2007, WordPress launched blogging facilities in Indian languages. It was followed by Rediff.com, which also empowered its users to blog in Indian languages. Thanks to these initiatives, Indian bloggers now blog in Bengali, Gujarati, Hindi, Kannada, Malayalam, Punjabi, Tamil, and Telugu. Another important development in the Indian blogosphere has been the setting up of blog directories. These blog directories help web users locate good Indian blogs and connect them with like-minded bloggers. The popular Indian blog directories are Blogstreet, Labnol, India Blogs, India Bloggers Ring, Technorati India Blogs, Blogwise India, Blogflux, and Desi Blogs. The first websites were HTML sites. They used static pages where 6 to 10, sometimes even more, stories were placed on a single page. The user had to scroll down the page to read the stories. It was certainly not user-friendly. These pages were difficult to manage. For even one change, the entire page had to be downloaded, the change made, and uploaded once again. Hyperlinking was manual and often led to faulty or wrong links. By 1998, Indian sites started using active server pages, popularly known as ASP. This technology was developed by Microsoft and brought in dramatic changes. Each report now had a distinct identity and a web address. The program linked the pages automatically. Editors could make changes on the server. Microsoft further developed this technology and introduced ASP.NET, which was even more versatile. There were also impressive developments in open source technology. Several organizations switched to Joomla and Drupal, two open source content management systems. RSS was another technology that was adopted by most media sites as it made it easy to distribute content to end users. Another major change was introduction of tab-based design. This happened in 2007 and scores of Indian websites introduced tab-based design, which made it possible to showcase more stories on the home page than was possible earlier. In fact, so popular was the new design that the period 2007-2008 saw a wave of redesigns happening. The sites that were redesigned during this period included the popular timesofindia.com, Hindustan Times, Indian Express, Express Buzz, indiatimes.com, rediff.com, yahoo.in and dinamani.com, kannadaprabha.com and the hindu.in and deccanherald.com also followed suit. By 2009, the social media sites had started gaining traction and editors realized the value of putting Facebook, Twitter and LinkedIn buttons on their sites. Almost all sites today carry social media buttons since it leads to higher traffic. A major challenge for news media in India has been the evolution of classified vertical sites. The first was Naukri.com, which became a powerful job site, taking away a lot of job ads from newspapers. Then came a series of matrimonial sites like BharatMatrimony.com, Shadi.com that achieved great popularity. These sites chipped away matrimonial ads that the newspapers traditionally published. Another classified pillar to feel the heat was real estate. Several real estate sites emerged, but they have not been able to challenge the newspapers as much as the job and matrimonial sites. The moving away of classified advertisements to non-media verticals pushed at least 2 Indian media houses to launch their own classified sites. The Times of India group has set up timesjobs.com, simplymarry.com and makaan.com. HT Media has set up shine.com, a jobs portal. The Information Technology Act came into existence in 2000. It laid down the legal framework for the different electronic activities conducted using computers, computer systems, and computer networks. The many areas that the Act covered included digital signature, role and responsibilities of internet service providers, conduct of e-commerce activities. It also laid down penalties for violating the law and guidelines for conduct of investigations. However, with the growth of the internet in size, shape and nature of activities, it was felt that the Act needs to be amended. In December 2006, the government therefore introduced the Information Technology Amendment Bill 2006 before both the Houses of Parliament. The bill was referred to the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Information Technology, which, after examining the changes suggested by the committee, introduced the Information Technology Amendment Bill 2008 before the Parliament. These amendments were passed in December 2008. In this episode, we covered the history of the internet in India and the way it has evolved. We understood the dynamics of the dot-com boom and its collapse thereafter. We examined the emergence of e-papers and how the internet took away advertising revenue from newspapers. We looked at the introduction of broadband, the starting up of television sites, the arrival of social media, and the importance of technology and design. That is all we have for today. Thank you and see you soon with another episode that will further examine the role of internet in India. Goodbye and thank you.